Hey guys, Nike here. I wanted to go over the updated PvP build I've been using. In the past few weeks, I've been going pretty hard in tournament PvP because I wanted to get my Tiger rank, which I did get finally. As you can see, I'm 40 now. And I found that the Sword longbow condition damage build, while really good for hot joins and really good for dueling 1v1, isn't really so good in TPVP, where the ability to do big solid burst damage and kill a person quickly and cleave anyone that tries to res them with big damage just isn't so good. There's a lot of times where I would have the sword build going and a guy would be down and his buddy would be just rezzing him, and there's nothing I could do to stop him because the sword bleeds were inconsequential and he could just res the guy right through him. Whereas if I had a power build, I could take them both down, or he just wouldn't be able to res him. So I started switching to a power build. People asked me to play Hambo. I didn't really like the way Hambo played. I felt that good players know the Hambo animations because they're such obvious tells that Hambo isn't really very viable at the top levels where people can read your tells. Whenever we would play against people that were in the rank 60s or higher, or people that were very high up on the PvP ladder, landing an Earthshaker was almost impossible because the animation's just so obvious. So one of my guildmates suggested I try the Axe Shield power build for Warrior that we got from a guy who's pretty high up on the ladder. I believe his name is Luke. So credit to him for this build. And I don't want to make it sound like I invented it at all. I did not. I believe Luke was the one who popularized it and gave it to our guild. And I got it from my guildmates. So real quickly, go to the hero panel. The weapons are Axe, Shield, and Longbow. For the Longbow, most people, or a lot of people, put Bloodlust on. I don't really care for stacking, so I go with Force. It doesn't make a huge deal. I like the burst damage that you get from Arcing Arrow, and I think having Force on there is pretty good. So I don't really care for stacking Bloodlust. But if you do want to stack Bloodlust, definitely put it on your Longbow. For the Axe, I put Force. And for the Shield, I put Battle. I believe that my other guildmates that run this put Intelligence on the Shield. And I believe Luke puts Intelligence on the Shield. What I found was and maybe it just has to do with my inexperience, and other people have better results with Intelligence, but I wasn't always able to eviscerate when I swapped to Axe. There would be times where I'd be on my Longbow and I'd swap to Axe, and I just wasn't in a good position timing-wise to eviscerate, and so I felt like I was wasting the Intelligence Sigil. Whereas in a build with fast hands like this has, a Sigil of Battle is going to be 6 stacks of Might over time, and it's going to do a pretty significant boost to my DPS. So that's why I went with Battle. I think Battle is very viable, and it's definitely worth using, especially if you're not confident that you're going to be able to get the intelligent procs on your Eviscerate. With the upcoming Sigil and rune changes that they previewed, they did say that Intelligence is going to go to your next 3 attacks. That changes the dynamic a lot more, because it'll allow you to swap to Axe, do a Shield Bash, and then Eviscerate, and you'll still get your proc, and I think that will make Intelligence a bit more viable, especially in a build like this that's much more bursty. So when the patch hits and Sigil of Intelligence gets updated, that's something to look into and see if it plays better. For Amulet, we're just going full Berserkers on this. As you'll see, the build's pretty tanky, so you can just go all-out DPS on your Amulet. If you played the Hambo build, most people, I believe, are running Superior Rune of Lissa. This build is no different. Lissa gives you extra precision, more crit chance, which is good. The condition duration, sometimes relevant. sometimes not. It helps with the pin down on your longbow, and it helps with the burning on the longbow. So it's not like a huge difference, but it's nice. But the main reason that you use this is for number 6. When you use an elite skill, you lose all conditions and you gain all boons for 5 seconds. Essentially what you're doing is with Signet of Rage, you get a full condition cleanse every 48 seconds, and you get 35 seconds of Fury, Might, Swiftness, and you get 5 seconds of Stability, which is the other big key. Really, Signet of Rage in a team fight lets you get stomps off. It puts you into God mode for a few seconds. It really can swing a team fight, and I highly recommend Signet of Rage with that. I know a lot of people will run Banner instead of Signet of Rage, and that's fine. I think if you run Banner, you probably shouldn't use Rune of Lissa. Maybe use Melandru and be a little bit tankier. But that's definitely a viable choice. It's up to you. If you're going to use Signet of Rage, go with Lissa. If you're going to use Banner, go with Melandru. Alright, moving on to traits. So the build is 10, 0, 30, 0, 30. In Strength, we're going to get Great Fortitude, which gives some of your power to Vitality. You can see how much it gives. I'll just switch it off for a second. Your base is 21,662, and it goes to 23. So you're getting round about 1,400 health or HP from Great Fortitude. So it's pretty helpful for your survivability. Yeah, and I think it's a pretty good trait to have, and the 100 power never hurts. Reckless dodge, it is what it is. Does a little bit of damage when you dodge. No big deal. In those crazy team fights on points, it is noticeable. Defense, we go 30 in. Everyone knows with thick skin. So we use sure-footed, increases stance duration. As you can see, our utility skills are all stances. So the increased duration is quite good. Berserker stance lasts 10 seconds. Balance stance lasts 10 seconds. And Endure Pain lasts 5 seconds. It's one of the keys to the build. It helps make this build as tanky as it is, in addition to the 300 toughness that going 30 into defense gives us. Adrenal health, a little bit more healing, goes very well with the healing signet, gives us some sustain. Nothing really bad about adrenal health at all. It just makes the build a little tankier, more sustain, pretty good. Cleansing Ire, every time you burst, you're going to cleanse multiple conditions based on your adrenaline level. This build, much like every warrior build in PvP that is popular, is a burst build. So you'll be using your burst skill, either Eviscerate or Combustive Shot, just about as much as possible. And so you're going to be constantly losing conditions. This is like the most important warrior trait in the game, I'd say. I think this is what makes warriors viable, even more so than Healing Signet. I think if Healing Signet got nerfed to Oblivion, you'd still see warriors playing Healing Surge, and it would be slightly worse, but you'd still see warriors in the game. I think if Cleansing Ire got nerfed to Oblivion and warriors didn't have Cleansing Ire, it would be really hard to run a warrior effectively in PvP. So it's a key trait. Armored Attack, gain 10% of your toughness into power. As you can see, our toughness is 1,300, so we're getting about 130 power from that trait. That's no joke. 130 power would be like getting another over 10 trait points of power. It really does help the damage in this build. You can see we're over 2,000 power because of that, with only having 10 points into strength. It's a pretty good trait. And then in Defy Pain, there's a couple different ways you can go here. Some people would take Dogged March here and just move these up. I think the Defy Pain really makes this build, puts it over the top in terms of tankiness. and escapability. And when I talk about the way the build plays a little bit, we'll go into just why this trait is so especially good. Down to discipline, versatile rage, gain adrenaline on a weapon swap. Quite good. After you do your burst skill, you weapon swap, and you will be almost back up to 2 full bars of adrenaline. So you're basically more than halfway there to being able to burst again. Warrior sprint. A lot of people use different things here. Move faster while wielding a melee weapon. A lot of people will take Signet Mastery here, and then take Destruction of the Empowered at the Master level. The reason why I don't do that is because if I don't have Warrior Sprint, I feel I'm way too slow, and I'm tempted to use Signet of Rage as a speed boost to get around the map, rather than saving it for a cleanse or for a big team fight when I need to go into God mode. So I will take Warrior Sprint. It allows me to play more aggressively with my Signet of Rage. If you're using Banner, obviously you don't need Signet Mastery, so you can change Signet Mastery for, Destruction of the Empowered. 3% damage for every boon on your target. It makes big bursts very possible, especially after someone else pops their rune of Lissa. As always, in a build Fast Hands combos so well with Versatile Rage and with Versatile Power, gain Might on swap, and with our Sigil of Battle. All told, with Versatile Power and Fast Hands and Sigil of Battle, the build is going to maintain, just from weapon swapping on cooldown, 8 stacks of Might. And then more than half the time we're going to have 5 here. So on average, we're going to be looking at about 10 stacks of Might just running around the map, just running around in a fight. 10 stacks of Might is pretty darn good for a warrior. It's about 350 power. It will increase our damage pretty heftily. And then lastly, Burst Mastery. It just makes Eviscerate hit way hard. Pretty self-evident why people take Burst Mastery. It just makes the build go. And that's it for traits. So going on to gameplay-wise, your most common damage rotation, the ideal situation, is you're going to want to pin down your target, swap to axe, and eviscerate them while they can't dodge. Since pin downs and immobilized, they can't dodge. You swap to axe, you eviscerate them, and hopefully they either die or they take a big chunk of their damage. And they're on the verge of death. Normally, after someone takes a big eviscerate, they're going to want to heal. So generally, you're going to shield bash right after that, interrupt their heal, and they're basically dead. If you interrupt someone's heal and put it on the 6-second or whatever cooldown after they've eaten a big crit eviscerate, it's going to be real tough for them unless they have an invulnerability button to live. So that's what you want to be on the lookout for. But obviously you're not always going to have that. Sometimes you're going to need the pin down for other purposes or other timings. And then it is what it is. Eviscerate's a pretty quick leap, and you have a cripple, and you can shield bash first. So landing your eviscerates isn't super difficult. As far as DPS goes, even the longbow auto attack isn't bad. Arcing arrow hits really hard, so don't be afraid to arcing arrow. It will hit darn nearly as hard as an eviscerate, so arcing arrow pretty strong. And just your axe auto attack, don't underestimate how much damage it does. Especially if a light armor class who's not very tanky, they're not going to be able to take your axe auto attacks for very long. You can kind of train people and just build up your adrenaline quickly. So going down to how tanky it is, the build, even being full Berserker, is pretty darn good at playing defensively when need be. You have invulnerability, immunity to conditions, and a stability on demand. So between those two, you can kind of sit on you have basically 10 seconds where you can sit on a point and no one on the point is going to be really able to move you. You'll want to take that time to call in your reinforcements in TPVP, tell your teammates that you need backup, and it's a pretty good way of holding out. Generally, if I'm in a situation like that, or say I'm at home or I'm at mid and I'm the only one there and all of a sudden 2 enemies show up, I will do these 2 things, try to hold out as much as possible, call for reinforcements. When I get down to about 50% health, I'm going to pop my Endure Pain. That gives me another 5 seconds of where they can't hurt me. And so now we're looking at about 15 seconds in total. Once the Endure Pain wears off, I will use my Shield Stance for another 3 seconds of invulnerability. And then when that wears off, if I'm still in trouble, when you get low, your Defy Pain will pop at 25%, and you'll have another 5 seconds of invulnerability. If Defy Pain pops and your teammates aren't there, it's probably time to flee the point, try to get out of there, use your Lissa Rune to give you stability and a Condi Cleanse, and head for the hills. But really, you can stay alive a really long time against 2 people just by chaining your skills, and that is a pretty big advantage for the build, to be so offensively powerful but so also able to bunker down on a point for a few seconds if need be. It gives the build a lot of versatility in that regard. Obviously not anywhere near a good bunker build, but the ability to hold a point till you get reinforcements is pretty great. That's pretty much it. I don't know what much more there is to say. I'm sure people have questions in the comments, but you just want to be bursting as much as possible and using your skills, your utility skills, to the maximum effectiveness, and just pressure whoever the called target is that your team calls on each point, and burst them down just as quick as you can. It's a pretty fun build. I encourage you guys to give it a try. It's really good in team PvP, solo queues, and even in just running around in hot joins. Most people in hot joins are not quite as good as the ones in TPVP or even solo queues, so the chances of them dodging and eviscerate in hot joins are quite a bit less, and you're going to get some pretty darn big eviscerates. So that's about it. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I will appreciate answering them for you. So thanks for watching, guys, and check me out later.